the interview, which will most likely be 7:15. So 7:15 to 7:35 will be the 20 minutes. You're welcome after that to stay and, join us for our last segment. We can just talk about things that don't pertain to school if you want to do that.
We're just trying to keep them equal time as best as you can.
All right, 3, 2, 1. And good morning and welcome to Middleboro in Review. I'm Joey Driscoll. I am joined by Don Driscoll, our co-host.
Extraordinaire.
Co-host extraordinaire, yes. And
hello, Joey.
Also joined by our guest today, running for school committee, Jessica Chardoff. Good morning, Jessica.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, let's do our weather. We have a lot of weather to get to. We usually do Taunton, Middleboro, and 2 of the Driscoll towns. Something I came up with when I started the show. But Taunton first. 59 degrees. 59. It's not 59 degrees. No way. In Taunton. Okay. 59. Really.
That's 50. It feels like 59.
Doesn't feel like it at all.
What's it feel like?
Well, it doesn't compute to me that it's 59 degrees right now.
What's it compute? What?
Hal,
are you there?
I
Hal?
thought it would be 45 degrees or something, but that caught me off guard. All right,
Hal.
It's 59 degrees, a high of 34 today. I just haven't seen a high the temperature that high in the morning for a very long time. All right, anyway, 59 degrees, low of 34 tonight. Sunny skies today. In Middleboro, it is 44 degrees. Okay, interesting that it's 15 degrees cooler in Middleboro. I don't know if that, again, the Taunton 59 degrees thing, I don't know if that's a mistake on their end. But 44 degrees in Middleboro, 60 degrees for the high today. So very nice, warm weather for Middleboro. Driscoll, North Dakota, -2.
So you feel right at home when you go to Driscoll, North Dakota. You're back at home. You're feeling where you're supposed to be, right?
-2. And finally, Driscoll, Texas. 71 degrees, a high of 90 today. So it's getting pretty warm over there now as well. I also want to mention that in Taunton, there's going to be the 41st POW/MIA Remembrance Day at the Vietnam Fountain. And it's presented by the Taunton Area Vietnam Veterans Association. It'll take place today at noon. POW/MIA Remembrance Day reminds us to never forget those who served, and most especially those who have not yet returned home. Guest speakers will include the Mayor, Shauna O'Connell, Senator Mark Pacheco, Representative Norman Orrell, and Representative Carol Doherty, with a special guest, Father Philip Salwa, a Vietnam Silver Star recipient. Again, we'll mention that again towards the end of the show, but great event taking place this afternoon at noon. So it's 7:11. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we will be talking with Jessica Chardoff right after these words. I'm Joey Driscoll, and you're listening to Middleboro in Review on WVBF 1530 AM, 99.7 FM. We will be right back. Come in. Here we go. All right. Just make sure that this is running. Looks good. Okay. Make sure that that's running so that have it up.
-4 Driscoll. North Dakota. Oh my God.
That 59 degrees in Middleboro.
Maybe it's 40.
In Taunton sounds wrong.
Maybe it's 49.
Yes, and maybe
you read it right?
I read it at 59 degrees.
On the computer or on the phone?
That's what it said on the computer. 59 degrees in Taunton.
Hey Siri,
doesn't
temperature
sound
outside.
right to me. I don't know. Doesn't sound right at all to me. Because why would it be 15 degrees warmer here in Taunton?
Same reason why sometimes you get 2
Hey,
feet of
Siri.
snow in one town and 2
What's the
inches in
temperature
the
outside?
other.
What? Oh. Yeah,
42.
no way. That was 50. No way.
Alright.
That's why I did double take it. I was like, okay, it's 59
What is
degrees,
that, the natural
but
weather? What's that, natural weather you looking at?
I'm looking at, I just typed in Taunton,
No,
and it's 59 degrees apparently.
no, it's 42.
Okay. Yeah. That was wrong.
Yeah.
So that is my bad. So it's 42 degrees. I will make that correction when we
Yeah.
get back on again.
That's why you had the double take.
Exactly. Okay. Good. So what we'll do first is a little bit about yourself, and then why you're running for school committee.
Okay.
That'll be the first 2 questions. So it's 42 degrees in Taunton?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Not 59?
Or 4 below. We gotta go to Driscoll. We gotta cook that place up because
We
it's
do.
It's end of the world. I mean, because the Driscolls, it's 2 extremes. It's Texas and North Dakota. And one's on the almost on the Mexican line, and the other one's almost on the
Canadian
line.
border.
But
Yeah.
February 4th, it was the coldest. I guess Mount Washington was the coldest on the planet. When it was
Yep.
9. What was
Yeah,
it? It was,
I remember.
yeah. It was 10 below here.
I have some coworkers who are out in the Minnesota, North Dakota area, and so every once in a while we'll be complaining about the weather, and they're like, "Shut
Yeah.
up." There was this stretch where they had no school
They just
because
can't-
of the wind chill. It was
Yeah.
like negative 40 below in the
Yeah,
morning.
they
They
just-
couldn't have their kids standing out there for the bus.
Oh, yeah. I worked for a home heating oil company, and I was working that Friday, and the truck was starting to pump slow, the steering was starting to, and that was at night. So we didn't work that Saturday.
Yep.
And I was talking to other people who tried to work. I was talking to another guy, all their trucks froze. They could, it's just like, why do you even bother going out?
Yeah.
We really haven't had a bad winter, so our back, the
Yeah.
industry, the backs on your backs. They call it backs against on the ropes when it gets so cold, like 2015. If you remember
Yeah.
that, how bad it was. We never caught up. Not the case this year, though.
And we're back here on Middleboro in Review as I turn the music down. There we go. And a quick correction about the weather. It is not 59 degrees in Taunton, Massachusetts. It is 42 right now. It will be 59 today, right around 60 for the high today, which would be very, very good. Again, we're getting out of the cold weather, I hope. So that's a good thing. All right. Again, we want to say good morning to our guest, Jessica Chardoff. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So my first question is, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I grew up in Middleboro. My parents moved to Middleboro right before I was born, and I am a graduate of Middleboro High School, and I went on to Brandeis University after that. I actually got a degree in theater. After that, I worked in a small professional theater for a number of years until I needed to make a salary that didn't have me asking my parents for rent money every month. And I got a job at a healthcare software company where I've been for over 20 years now. My current role there is a software designer, which is a very far cry from my theater degree, but I've got a lot of skills that I've been able to apply. Along the way, I had a couple children and moved back to Middleboro, and that's where we live. And my 2 kids are now in high school and attending Middleboro High School.
Why are you running for school committee?
So I think there's 2 reasons that I keep coming back to. The first is how deeply I care about the children in Middleboro. I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with a number of students at both the public schools as well as the Burtwood School of Performing Arts in downtown Middleboro, volunteering on some theater activities. And I've just met so many wonderful kids, and also meeting my kids' friends and just getting a chance to see how amazing the students today are. And I just really have this deep care of wanting them all to have as many opportunities as possible. And then the other reason is I started attending the school committee meetings when the shutdown was about to happen. I've decided I wanted to get the information firsthand. I wanted to be able to ask questions, so I started attending the school committee meetings. And then I just kept going. So even when everything opened up and the meetings came back to be in person, I've been a regular attendee since then, and I've really gotten interested in how it all works and the processes that go into making the decisions. And I figured the next logical step to combine my care and my interest was to run for school committee.
Next question. What are two issues that the schools, but Middleboro Public Schools, face in 2023?
So right now, I think everybody is facing kind of the recovery stage. Everybody, whether it came out during the pandemic, everybody was greatly affected by it. And I think the students and the teachers and the staff have different stressors on them than they've ever had before. For the students especially, I know that being home for a number of their formative years does impact their growth and their experiences, and many of them didn't have the chance to learn and grow and mature doing the things that they would have normally done. You know, my son pretty much didn't get middle school in person in the same way, and that can have a big effect. And just trying to learn how it all fits back together again, and the stress and the anxiety that everybody's experienced, I think, are coming out in some of the behaviors and some of the learning struggles that students may be having. And I think that's a lot of stress on everyone. The other thing that I keep thinking of for Middleboro is capacity. So it's been talked about before, but when the Middleboro High School was designed, it was designed with a certain number in mind based on projections and what the state would allow. And we're already over capacity at that high school. My daughter currently has a math class that has 30 students in it again, and that's not the ideal teacher-student ratio for anyone. And just looking at the numbers of the incoming classes, how do we continue to support the teachers and the students in an ideal learning environment when there's more people than the building has been designed to accommodate?
Don, get you involved a little bit. Do you have a question?
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a side question, I think. Joey took TV production in over at
the Nichols.
Right? He got passed over there, and I really think he took 2 years, and I really think that launched his career as far as communication. It really did. Now, would you recommend any other kind of like trades, like a trade, like nursing or anything? I know it's not a trade school per se, but would you consider or recommend any other kind of like a nursing program or something like that to add to that? Because that seems like it's almost like a shop in a way, taking that, the TV communication. Yeah, not many schools have it. Would you recommend maybe a nursing, something, people can get into nursing and maybe 2 other things or something like that? Would you think that'd be a good idea?
So it's a really tough question. I think you have to remember that Middleboro is part of Bristol Plymouth, and that is definitely an avenue that gives students a path for a career
Right.
with a lot of trades, and we are part of that collaborative. And for students who know that's the direction that they want to go, the type of opportunities that they can get at Bristol Plymouth far surpass anything that Middleboro High School could offer within the capacity that the building has, within the capacity that the town could fund. I know when the new building was being put up, there were some questions about, well, why aren't we building all of these shops and all of the other things? And the answer is because we already have Bristol Plymouth that specializes in that and has all the staffing and has a great reputation for what students can get out of that program. Now, at Middleboro High, there is the TV production program there, which is fantastic. The kids get a lot of opportunities to be part of Middleboro public events and to take part in recording and broadcasting and editing, a lot of those things. There is a forensic science path and the Braga path to careers. So there are a couple programs at Middleboro High that are looking at those career pathways. So they may not be as robust and developed as the programs at Bristol Plymouth, but they do give people that introduction so that if they choose that this is something they'd really like to go into, they could go to a certificate program or go and get more experience after that. So while I think it would be ideal for a school to have a nursing program or a dental hygienist program or something like that, I just think the reality is getting one school that could offer all of those things with all of those resources is just not realistic. And I think the collaboration and the connection that Middleboro students have with Bristol Plymouth does give them more opportunities than Middleboro could offer right now.
When I went to school, I went to Quincy High, and I started my freshman year at Quincy High, and I went into they had like small shops, I mean limited, like what a high school would have, but we were connected to the Votech. If I didn't take those one small shop over at the high school, then I wanted to go over to the Votech. So technically, they sent me over to the Votech, but like you said, that you have the infrastructure for it over there because it's a vocational school. But even like a smaller nursing program or something, just to get their feet wet and then they'd move on or something like. Because some people may not want to go at first. Some kids may not want to go to the Votech. They want to be with their friends because it's a whole different school. And you got 10 of your friends going to Middleboro High, and then you're going off to Bristol, Plymouth, or wherever by yourself.
Yep.
And a lot of people, a lot of kids, their career paths, they'll go left or right, and a lot of kids would just stay with their friends, especially at that early age. And,
no, that's
and it'd just be like sort of like an intro, not a big class, but something like an introduction. Like they could do it like in 9th grade or in 10th grade, and then if they want to go on, they can move on. But I think it might be a good stepping stone because it really helped him, and it was in-house high school. It wasn't a Votech school.
I do think that's a really interesting concept of just intro classes. I was definitely thinking with the question of a full program that was comparable. But an intro class to say, intro to being a health assistant or anything like that, that would be really interesting. I do know with the new schedule that the high school is starting next year, there's going to be a focus on trying to bring in community involvement a little bit more, and a chance with that new schedule to bring people in to speak to students or to have little one-off programs to do interested, to expose them to things they might be interested in. So I think something like that would be a great way to kickstart that process, is to say, hey, let's bring in someone from that community and talk about what they did to get their certification, where they went to school, what goes into it. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting idea, is to have some intro to career paths. And wouldn't it be really neat if it could be a class where throughout the year you got introductions to multiple different careers even, and that you could split the year up with things that are related but not necessarily the exact same. So you could take a little bit, learn a little bit about a bunch of things
Yeah.
to kind of see where you're
Exploratory.
yeah.
I did that, ninth grade. That's what I did. I was technically a Quincy High School student, and I was going to see if I wanted to go to the VOTEC, and I ended up technically being a VOTEC high school student in the 10th grade. And they had everything. But, I mean, it's, I'll let get you questions. But, I mean, sometimes you can get sidetracked.
No,
I mean,
it's a great question.
Middleboro's in-house, because everything's in-house in Middleboro. Everything's taken care of, from the electric to the power to everything. So I always believe in-house is the best.
So my next question is a 2-in-1 question. If elected, what are some things that you hope to accomplish or achieve? And also, if also elected as well, what are some things that you'll focus on to help students who may need some extra help in school or kids with disabilities?
So, if elected, I definitely want to investigate more about the capacity concerns and learn what the plans are, what the numbers are, what's the nitty gritty of everything, and to be part of those discussions, because that is one of the concerns that I have. And then just in general, each year there's new things that come up and lots of different things. The budget's always a big part, but that's also kind of this amorphous thing that I don't know a lot about what happens in the discussions. So I'd be very interested in learning about that. But I think the thing that I hope for the most is to be able to represent the student voice. Obviously, the staff and the parents all have a voice as well. But I'd be very interested in working on a way to connect with the students so that they had a chance to share their voice in some of the things that mattered about the school. And, in a high school setting, you have students who are of voting age, and so they have the power of the vote. But in the middle school and the elementary school, what are the things that the students are feeling most connected to, or where are the things that they would like chances in? And I just love the opportunity to have, roundtable discussions or something with the students whenever there's a big thing coming up, to try to get their opinions involved. Or you're going to have to ask me the second part of that question again.
And the second part of the question is, what some things that you'll focus on that will help students who need the extra help in school or kids with disabilities?
So before you answer that question, Joey has a disability. He has spina bifida. And the programs, were they good, adequate?
Very good, yeah.
Okay, I'll let you go. But I'm just saying, the Middleboro High definitely tended to his situation.
Yeah, I think that Middleboro has a fantastic special ed department, but as with anything, it comes down to money. And the teachers who are part of those programs do everything possible, but I think coming out of the pandemic, you were finding more need for some help with skills and increasing those skills and social skills and everything like that. So the first thing that I'd say was to keep that in mind come budget time. You don't want to be cutting the budget for the special ed department. You don't want to be cutting the budget to any kind of program that has tutoring and things like that after school. I know that the National Honor Society at the high school does offer tutoring after school, and then that there's an option for helping at the middle school. But I think that would be a wonderful thing to expand upon, even down to the elementary level of going in and having students listen to children read and be just another person
Students
who can
helping students?
Yeah, students helping students, but not in the way where it's, you're in the class together and everybody comes over to you because they know you know the answer and they're pestering you, hey, can you help me with this? More in a structured format. And there's nothing wrong with students helping students in the classroom, but I know that it can sometimes be overwhelming for someone. But I do think a lot of it just comes down to budget and how do we get enough specialized teachers for dyslexia programs, and how do we get the the qualified personnel. I'd love to see if there was a way to find grants or something to fund teachers who are interested in getting certification in the dyslexia, the Wilson and the, I think it's OG or in Gillingham, reading programs to help the school system out by them having that certification, but not be it something that the teacher has to pay for on their own for that kind of certification, or some kind of benefit process that comes into that. I think the middle school has, for the first time possibly, I think they created a unified basketball team. So I think continuing those unified sports and making sure that there's a place for everyone in the arts programs and the sports programs is really important. So I guess when it comes down to it is just doing everything possible to make sure the money is there so that all the people who care so much can keep doing their job to the best of their ability.
My next question is, what would you say to parents who are new to Middleboro, who have a child and who are new to Middleboro? What would you say to the parents about Middleboro Public Schools?
So I think it's a wonderful community, and I think that the administration and the school management and the superintendent all really want the best for every student that comes through the system, but it may not be right for everyone. And I think having that conversation and knowing who to go to bring up your concerns if you have a student that isn't finding their way, and asking for help and work within the system to get that help that you might need to make things more a better fit for your student, because it's not, everybody doesn't have the same path, and what kind of opportunities are best for your child, and how can they have the chance to be part of those things. I think that's the process where talking to the administration, I've had wonderful responses from any of the school principals that I've ever contacted, or to be able to ask questions and to sit down and have conversations when something might be a little off, and work to find a better process. So I think that being open and honest and communicating directly with the school has really good results.
We just have a couple minutes left in this segment. Last two questions I have is where can people get in contact with you, and if you have one other thing that you want to say, one last thing you want to say as well.
So I have a Facebook page, Jessica Shartoff, candidate for Middleboro School Committee candidate, and that is where you can find me now. And obviously, if elected, I'll have a town email address, and that will be the best way to reach out to me and to communicate with me. And one more thing, I guess, is just to thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity. I really enjoyed hearing a little bit of your personal story and helping connect to how Middleboro supported you getting here. And I think that's wonderful to hear such a good success story. But thank you very much. And I just hope that people will vote for me on April 1st for school committee.
All right, it is 7:36. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back here on Middleboro in Review on WVBF 1530. In Review. On,
you sound like, you know what you sound like? You say, the Batman movie, you are my number one guy. Remember that scene? Bob, I'm my number one guy. Jack Nicholson. Remember that scene?
Yeah.
Right. You just sound like him.
One of the top three Jokers, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
All right, we'll be right back here on Middleboro Review on WBF 1530 AM and 99.7 FM.
Great interview.
Thank you. He really likes to get you off track, doesn't he?
Yes,
well,
he
we've
does.
had fun. It's almost half of a comedy show, too, in a way. what the arguments on the father and son.
We do.
It's
great.
great.
Sometimes.
People love
It's
it.
great.
I used to do a lot of ranting about the tea. I haven't done much about it lately, but
Yeah.
it's just a show.
We don't need to do that
We
today.
have a guy. We have a guy Paul Labs who is on Saturday, and he's a professor at Massachusetts. He's worked at Wentworth, and he's a great guy. And we've been on his show a couple times. It's called Cranberry Country Journal, and he's a big research guy, and he says.
Do you want to stop the Facebook Live or?
We do it for the entire show.
Oh, yay!
Yeah.
Pointing at me the entire show.
Yeah.
I guess I should stay then and
Yeah,
not
stay.
vacate the chair.
All right. Let's see.
We doing that music recommendation, Joey?
Yeah.
Which song
I'm
you
gonna
want to
get
do it
that.
on?
Well, I'm gonna do yours.
Which one?
The Rocky Mountains.
Oh, you're not gonna do.
Do you want me to do the other one?
I don't know. Maybe I think we should do that next week and kind of compare it with the Bob Seger
Ooh.
and the the John Hall.
You're right.
Same message. And get a little more information on. There's a song called "I Told You So" by John Hall, founder of Orleans and the band Orleans.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, right. Well, this guy used. Well, Bob Seger's new album too.
Bob Seger album came out in 2010. He has a song on there, "It's Your World."
It's Your World, and then John Hall says, "I Told You So" about nuclear or whatever. It's just nuclear power and stuff like that. Even if you don't agree with the guy, the song's awesome.
Yeah.
It's just nuclear conspiracy and stuff. But he was a congressman in the 2000s in New York. So, yeah.
What's his approach to the "I told you so" that it would work or that it wouldn't work?
Oh, it wouldn't work. The guy was big with No Nukes with Jackson Browne back in the day.
Yeah.
Bonnie Raitt. I mean, that was a big thing back then. But no, it wouldn't work at all.
The skilled labor that it requires to do that safely is just.
Yeah. Or whatever your point of view is. Sometimes we're non-political.
Mm-hmm.
Bring a candidate or whatever. We'll try to be neutral.
Yeah.
Because we have friends.
What news and things like that.
Well, we have friends on both
Yep.
sides. And the whole idea of the debate is gone out the window. So when people start growing up and debating normally again, that's when the conversation can kind of come back.
Yep.
And right now, it's off the rails. Everything's off the rails.
It's awful.
So until we can have a serious discussion, it's better not to say much.
Yeah. Doesn't make for a comfortable environment.
Yeah, but that's how Americans are, though. That's what makes our country so strong, our personalities. Because Americans have strong personalities. That's why this country is so great.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
All right.
Personalities we're allowed to express. That's how I'll say it.
Yes.
3, 2, 1, and 0. And we're back here on Middleboro in Review. As I turn the music down, there we go. Want to mention again. I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, but I want to mention it again here. The 41st POW/MIA Remembrance Day will be taking place today at the Vietnam Fountain. It's presented by the Taunton Area Vietnam Veterans Association. It'll take place at noon today. The POW/MIA Remembrance Day reminds us to never forget those who served, and most especially those who have not yet returned home. Guest speakers will include Mayor Shauna O'Connell, Senator Mark Pacheco, Representative Norman Orrell, and Representative Carol Doherty, with a special guest, Father Philip Salwa, a Vietnam Silver Star recipient. So that event, again, is at noon today. I'll mention it a few more times before noon today. So, again, great event coming up.
Looks like the weather's going to be good for it, too, huh?
Yes, 60 degrees almost. It's going to be really nice.
It's stopped raining, so that's... I want to mention something, too, that I haven't said in a while. But, again, if you're on the highway, and I still see it, and it drives me crazy because I drive for a living. If you're on the highway and you see a state police or you see a tow truck or service or fire, please move over. Please move over and try. You can see those lights for miles, okay? You can see them for like a mile, half a mile. So that's the time to start putting your directional on and moving over to the left. Don't wait till the last minute. and don't create a hazard trying to move over when you waited too long. Okay?
Yeah.
You still hear about, there was an incident in New Bedford about a month ago that state trooper got hit.
Yeah.
It might have been a detail. These people have families. These people want to go home to their families. They don't need to be hit by you, all right? It's up to you to navigate around emergency vehicles. You hear about tow truck drivers, service drivers who are trying to give people gas or jump their car or tow them. They just want to go home. You see graves, you see monuments dotted all over the highways, and it's the saddest thing in the world. For somebody who drives, in that perspective, it's just try to remember that it's just try to get around them. And if you can't safely get around them, I put my hazards on and I go slow. Okay? You just, even on the side roads, you see a police officer pulling someone over, you really go slow. Okay? And drive slow in the neighborhoods too. There's children. That's just my 2 cents. Okay?
All right.
Get off my chair.
We are gonna do a music recommendation today, but before we get to that, let's do some sports real quick. The NCAA men's basketball March Madness tournament continues to be madness. It was an interesting Elite Eight. That's what I'll say there for day one. We have Florida Atlantic moving on to the Final Four for the first time in school history there. A huge win, 79-76. I watched the end of that game. They played very well against Kansas State. UConn destroyed Gonzaga, 82-54. They're moving on to the Final Four for the first time in a while. And on the women's side, UConn is out of the tournament. And the NCAA Elite Eight finishes off today with Creighton and San Diego State, and Miami versus Texas. That is the University of Miami versus Texas. On the women's side, there's a couple of surprises, but it's kind of business as usual with a lot of these teams that are in the Elite Eight. They've been here before, or they have gotten far in the tournament before. The one surprise, I think, is Miami, the University of Miami, who is a 9 seed. They'll be taking on LSU tonight at 7 p.m. Also in the Elite Eight, Louisville and Iowa, Maryland and South Carolina. South Carolina is the overwhelming favorite, I think, by a lot of people. The overwhelming favorite to win the NCAA women's tournament. They are undefeated. They have not lost at all this year. And they have dominated so far in the tournament. And Ohio State and Virginia Tech. The one team that you do not hear me just say, who is in the Elite Eight, is UConn. They lost to Ohio State 73-61. So UConn has been eliminated. They are not in the Elite Eight for the first time since 2007.
Wow.
So that's pretty surprising stuff.
That happens. They zigged instead of zagged on this one, or what?
Yes, they.
Oh boy.
Just had a bad day.
They had a bad game.
Wow.
Yep, they had a bad game against Ohio State. A team who's not having a bad game and not having a bad season at all is the Boston Bruins. They've moved to 56 wins, 11 losses.
Boston. Here we go. I love it. I love it.
2-1, and I mean, every time they have a game at TD Garden, the crowds are crazy.
They're all uniform too. Remember the time we were at Boston Garden that time?
Yeah.
And we're at North Station, and everyone had
everyone was there.
Everyone had a Bruins shirt, a uniform. I mean, it's like a sea of gold and black. Everyone's like got their uniforms on. I mean, I think everyone walked in that door. I'm counting, and I see like 30 people go in, and only 2 have like a normal, regular civilian shirt. The rest of them have the uniform. They have their shirts on, their numbers, and oh my God.
And those are the ones who don't have the shirt on because you're taking somebody to the game and helping them live their fun, and you're just the driver.
Yeah. You didn't fit.
All right, and also another team who's doing really well, and facing a pretty easy layup kind of game today, in my opinion, is the Boston Celtics. They face the San Antonio Spurs, who have fallen pretty low. 19-55 is San Antonio's record right now. They used to be fantastic. They used to be winning championships. Not too long ago, about a decade or so ago, they were winning championships. And unfortunately now they've fallen pretty low. But Boston, 51-23, they're marching towards the postseason. Marching towards the regular season is the Boston Red Sox. It's said on Thursday that opening day, the pitcher for the opening day will be Corey Kluber. Chris Sale will also pitch during the first week of the season as well, making his return. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But spring training is still going on. They have a game today at 1:05 against the Minnesota Twins. And I hope Barry is listening to this. The New England Revolution have won once again. They defeated DC United 2-1 on a late goal in the 88th minute by Noel Buck. So very good game for the.
Was that game last night?
That game was
yesterday.
yesterday.
Because you guys would have talked about it yesterday morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
can see Carol rolling her eyes when you guys talk. I can see
yes. Yes, another great game by the New England Revolution. And finally, NASCAR takes place at the Circuit of America's road course in Texas today. All three series, actually, the Cup Series is today. The Xfinity and the Truck Series was yesterday. But the Cup Series race is today. The Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix is on at 3:30 this afternoon on Fox. Again, that is at the Circuit of the Americas in Texas. William Byron, who has been dominating all season so far, is on the pole. The Xfinity Series race, AJ Allmendinger wins that race yesterday. And also, Zane Smith won the truck race with Kyle Busch coming in second. Kyle Busch has just dominated the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series.
Truck race? Is that new? I've never heard of a NASCAR truck race.
No.
It's been going on since 1995, so
Wow.
this is the 28th year, 29th season, I believe. So it's really good.
How are you going along?
Oh, yes, I am.
Has Jim DuPont been reporting on your progress on
Yes, I am
watching them all?
I am watching all of the Truck Series, yes. I'm in the 2020 season. I'm in... 2020 season is very interesting because, again, that was the start of the pandemic. And so seeing how NASCAR they kind of navigated that is interesting to see.
They really kept going, though.
They did. They kept going.
When everyone else shut down, they kept going.
Yeah, some sports kept going.
I mean, with
but
empty stadiums, for sure.
Yes, a lot of sports, they kind of stopped. And then there was some that kept going, but with empty stadiums, and that was the same thing for NASCAR.
Right.
They didn't have any audiences.
During the
At least if you're the driver in the car, you're not used to hearing the sound from the crowds while you're actually competing.
Right.
So
that isn't a factor.
But
right?
there's the cheering before and after, I'm sure, is a big part of hyping you up. But at least while you're in the zone and you're racing, having an empty stand is not a lot different, maybe, than having a full one, because you kind
baseball. Take baseball, for instance, right? Ready, swing batter, right? You know, everyone's going swing batter, right? And
the audiences.
They didn't hear that.
Yeah.
I mean, the audience is trying to, especially with football, the audience can have a lot to do with a quarterback dropping the football.
Exactly.
Because they're out there, and you got thousands and thousands of people just haunting you.
Yep.
You know, it's
so it was
crazy.
interesting to see, like, with no audiences, how that changed the games a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure that's going to be studied for years because hopefully we'll never have another pandemic, and that's something that is going to be studied. That year and a half or that year that there was no audiences, and there was no empty stadiums and empty studios for even it was just us podcasting during the pandemic. We had no one in here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just got to get used to the phone and whatever. But something about live in the studio brings the message better than doing it on the phone. And somebody who comes into the studio, takes the extra effort, is I really think
I
is
agree.
kudos in my eyes.
Well, it's really fun to be here and to see all the equipment and watch Joey do
It's the
all
first time
the
you've been on the radio?
controls. It is.
Wow.
And I honestly didn't realize that you pushed all the buttons.
Well, you're welcome
and
back
did all
anytime.
of the things. Thank you.
Welcome
It's
back
really
anytime.
fun.
It's a lot of fun.
And before we get to our music recommendation, we're going to do our Today in Histories. We have some great Today in Histories and some great birthdays today. 2 Today in Histories today. 1915, the Vancouver Millionaires win the 1915 Stanley Cup Finals, the first championship played between the Pacific Coast Hockey Association and the National Hockey Association. This was before even the National Hockey League was in existence. 1945, World War II. During World War II, the Battle of Iwo Jima ends as the island is officially secured by American forces. Our birthdays today: 1773, Nathaniel Bowditch, American mathematician, I hope I'm saying that correctly, and navigator. His book, The New American Practical Navigator, first published in 1802, is still carried on board of every commissioned U.S. naval vessel to this day. 1911, Tennessee Williams, American playwright and poet. 1931,
Got a smile from her. I mean, from
The theater person, Tennessee Williams.
Yes,
Yep.
Okay.
1931, Don, you'll like this one. Leonard Nimoy,
Yeah.
Spock.
Remember, we saw that thing. We saw Out of This World. One of the last
Yes.
times we seen.
Yeah.
He emceed. It was. I think it was. They were from. The orchestra was from Minneapolis, and they did all the sci-fi. They did Battlestar Galactica. They did Star Trek.
Yeah.
They did Star Wars, Space Odyssey. That's where that HAL thing was coming from at the beginning of the show. You don't have a clue on that now, do you?
All right. Another one we have is James Caan, American actor and singer. Yep, a great actor. Fantastic. 1944, Diana Ross, American singer, songwriter, producer, and actress. 1948, local guy, Steven Tyler.
Okay.
1968, Kenny Chesney, one of my favorite country music stars of the modern era. And 1985, Star Wars fans will like this one. Don, you'll like this one as well. You're a Star Wars fan. Keira Knightley's birthday is today. She was born on this day in 1985. She played in Star Wars, Episode 1, the prequels. She was part of the prequels. She played Sabe, who is Padme's double there in the movies. She's like a minor role, but still very important to the whole Star Wars universe in general. Keira Knightley.
Now it's taken off. Now it's have a life of its own with all the Disney Plus programs.
It does,
it's
and
awesome.
And even the Sabe character has a life of her own too in the
yeah.
comics and some of the other
Oh,
stuff
it's
too.
just I love when they play with timelines and stuff, and the Mandalorian. I've been watching the Bad Batch a lot.
Yeah, my son loves the Bad Batch.
Bad Batch is awesome. And then you got the new Kenobi coming out, and the new Andor coming out, and the new Book of Boba Fett, and it's just it's.
I really love any kind of storyline where they take somebody who was a secondary character in one, and then they give them their backstory, and you get to learn more about them. I love when books do it. I love when anything that's telling a story does that, because you go back and you watch the first one where they're a secondary character, and there's a whole new level of meaning and understanding.
Character development is
amazing.
ideal.
It's important.
There was a Star Trek Next Generation. I'm not sure if a lot of people watched it, but there was a
every show with my brothers and my father.
Colin Meaney, okay, played Chief O'Brien, but he was just pretty much the red shirt at the beginning, and they developed his character. And there's one episode that brought everything home, and I'm not sure who the actor was, but it was Captain Maxwell went after a Cardassian ship, and he served with Captain Maxwell, and the exchange they had to bring him back down, so Picard didn't have to destroy a Federation ship, was just they sang a song. It was just You remember that episode?
I do.
Yeah, that was like one of the most heartfelt episodes I've ever seen in that series. So if you never got into that and you want something that's really, there was a lot of cheesy episodes, but the original episode was all cheese. You know?
So much.
all cheese. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
All right. We got 2 minutes here. Rocky Mountain High, Don, by John Denver.
Listen to that this morning.
Song written, of course, by John Denver and Mike Taylor. It's one of 2 official state songs of Colorado, recorded by Denver in 1972. It is the title track to his 1972 album, Rocky Mountain High, and rose to number 9 in the U.S. Hot 100. In 1973, Denver told concert audiences in the mid-70s that the song took him an unusually long 9 months to write. On April 10th of 2017, the record was certified gold by the Recording Industry Association of America for sales exceeding 500,000 digital downloads. And members of the Western Writers of America chose it as one of the top 100 Western songs of all time. Just an amazing song.
What's that song bring to you, Jessica? You know that song, right?
I do. So my connection with that song is working at North Shore Music Theater and being in the catwalk and shining a spotlight down on someone singing that song and just kind of getting, all the things around you go away and you're just
from
focused
a bird's
on
perspective.
Yeah, just focused on that. So yeah,
that's awesome.
And Don, what are your thoughts about the song?
I really feel that's the first environmental song in a way, for the time, 72.
Yeah.
And it's just every time I hear the song, it's just I get warm and fuzzy. It's just I don't know how to. I just goosebumps all over me. I've heard it so many times. I never get sick of it. And there's connections through friends of mine who grew up that are older than me that grew up listening to that on the AM stations. Say even in Western Pennsylvania, Ohio, out in the. It's just not a Northeast thing. It's a Midwest thing. It's a Rocky Mountain thing. It's bounds this country together. And one other thing too, which is fascinating, I hiked Mount McCartan. What did I say? I forgot the name of it. McCartan. Is it McCartan? You know what I'm talking about, right?
McCartan?
No, McCartan.
I don't know.
Monadnock.
Monadnock, okay. It's like, pick a state.
I was thinking about
There's lots of them.
I was thinking about Picard, okay? It's Monadnock. And I just got my phone here, and I was listening to YouTube as I walked up, and then it went away. So the song was going, I guess, still, but I couldn't hear it. I get up to a certain point, that song played. That song played from beginning to finish.
Wow.
And then it couldn't get anything else.
Interesting.
Just that song popped out, and when it popped, I had it in my pocket, and I come out, and I just look at my first vista, I'm like, oh my god, look at this, and then what starts playing, the beginning of that song. I'm like, this thing hasn't worked for the last 2.5 hours. I was 15 minutes into my hike, and I lost all reception.
Yeah.
And then it died out. So I don't know.
All right, it's 8:01. I want to thank Jessica Chardoff for coming in today and spending some time with us. I want to thank Don, as always. Don, great show today.
And Election Day is?
And Election Day is April the 1st.
So get out and vote.
Yep.
We got the 4 precincts.
Middleboro, there's 7 precincts.
7, yeah.
Well, technically there's 9, but I think for the local election, the A's get combined back, but maybe not. But they're up to 9.
Oh, okay, yeah. Just check your areas because there's been some changes. Our area changed. We're now voting at the where we're going now,
at the COA.
COA, right?
Yeah. All right, it is 8:02. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll be back next week. The next Middleboro review will be into April, so we will talk to you then. Bye-bye, everybody.
It's good you knew there was 9.
Well, when I'm not on the ballot, I actually work the elections. So.
Oh, you work the elections?
Yeah.
Which building do you work?
So, my dad and I, because my dad's the warden of precinct 7, so we're at the middle school, and so when they made the extra precincts, there's now a 7A that can come there, but they only have like, they have a very small number of
Bye, everybody.
Are in